Hello, everyone. Brandon here. Um, I am going live in lieu of premiere of episode 2, which will now take place tomorrow night. I have it exporting right now on Premiere. Premiere Pro being the editing software that I use. Um, I've said this before when I've had these live streams that the episode is beautiful. These stories are really coming together nicely. But if you know my pattern on this channel, you know that I have a tendency of having a tough time making the deadline that I set out. So like right now, we should have just wrapped up the screening of the premiere, but I'm exporting the video, meaning I'm taking it from the software, the video editing, and I'm making it into an actual video file, which then I'll upload to YouTube, and that takes a while because it's a large file. These are large episodes. This is a huge project. So as the title of this live stream indicates, this isn't just a way of saying, hey, premieres tomorrow night, so come back for that. But it's also a way of asking for help. You know, the kind of material that we do, and even though I use a hand, I just use my phone uh, for my recording, not this phone. I actually use this phone for the recording because this is my talking phone and personal phone. This is the one I use for recording. Um, and it's very portable and guerrilla marketing or guerrilla journalism, but at the same time the content we have is rich, right? These are rich stories. These are detailed stories. There are multiple stories in each video for this particular series, and editing them takes a long time. It's fun. I love how I'm able to throw in my favorite music, right? That's sort of a dream as a child or as a teenager to get to create movies in a way, right? And this is more documentary than narrative, of course, but I get to put in music like this. I don't know if you can. I hope you can hear this. Do you know this piece of music? And this shouldn't get me flagged because this is Beethoven's Concerto Number 5. Emperor is the name. Here comes the piano in a minute, in a second, in a couple seconds. Right here. Well, after this beat. Yeah. I shared this in my video previewing this episode that I use that music because of the interesting clash and parallel. Like it clashes with it, but also complements the video. It's a beautiful piece of music. We are in an unsightly setting with litter and so forth. But the vulnerability and the openness and the humility of some of the residents there who just talk about their struggles uh, really goes well with that piece of music. And I love being able to take whatever music I can find that's copyright free. By the way, I found this music on a website called musopen.org, musopen, musopen.org. And that has a lot of classical music um, recordings that are copyright free. Now, I get a lot of copyright flags on YouTube because people think that it's theirs, but I just dispute every one, and I've won every one of them because this is copyright-free recordings. So sometimes they're like recordings of a live session, not in a studio, or not a live concert, rather than a studio. So you get like the hiss, or you hear like the paper turning, or the sounds you might get in a concert hall, but there's a certain, I don't know, rawness, right, to that. It's a live recording instead of a studio recording. Um, but that's the kind of quality you get on this website. Anyway, that's the music I incorporated into this episode for this particular part of this series. But as I was saying before that, the joy of getting to make this series, of sharing these really powerful stories, this this episode, no exception. but it's a lot of work. And so if you know any editors, if you know any um, graphic designers, perhaps, although I have my cousin helping with that, I think it's more on the editing side. I've got more content with this series than I can keep up with. We'll have tomorrow night's video out, and that will be um, only the second episode of this series. And I've been doing this recording out there in the field for months. So I've got enough for probably 12 more episodes, and we're only able to pump out another episode in another month's time. So at one episode per month, we won't get through this series until well into a year from now. Especially if I keep going out there and getting more of these stories. So we need to put them out more regularly, but it's hard. It's so much work to do each episode right in the true um, dramatic style. I'm talking about the series Homeless, Sea Monster 6. Thanks for asking. Yeah, so tomorrow night we're doing episode 2. I called it Attitude. Episode 1 was called The Life. It was just an introduction to the life at this particular homeless camp in Minneapolis. Episode 2 is The Attitude, and it's how a lot of residents there approach the situation. And what we find in the episode is a real split between those who are entitled and those who are extremely service-minded. And it's just, and then we get a lot of people describing other kinds of attitudes, like, well, they just need to get their fix, or they need to, yeah, scrape together what they can to get by. There's the typical impoverished and addiction, but the attitude is really what makes us powerful, and the descriptions and the portrayals of individuals who um, might be living off of the system, so to speak, because of their addiction. But much more powerful are the examples of service. And there's one in particular from Uncle George is his name, or is what he goes by in the camp. And I'll just let I don't want to give too much away. I shared a little bit in yesterday's video that I put up, or 2 days ago, that this guy, his wife passed away, and he was very sad about that to this day, even though it was some years ago that she died. And and so he sees it as his duty to stay at this camp and help people. He's just there being of service. And I follow him as he makes breakfast in his tent, and then he goes and gives this to a single mom who's living with her teenage daughter at the camp, actually, uh, across the way in another tent. And then they invite him over for breakfast, and so he feels really uplifted by their appreciation for his gesture. Um, and then, of course, we have Beethoven's music playing in the background, so I think it's quite lovely. I think you will too. So I'll end this live stream just by saying, please come back tomorrow night. We'll be premiering episode 2 of Homeless. We get to see King and Andy again, and then you meet a few new people like Uncle George. And then if you know anyone who wants to help with these videos, um, as a creator, I want to put up this facade of having it all together and putting up these videos and having them all buttoned up, and we got it all handled behind the scenes. But honestly, it's 90% just me, and I don't make money on this channel, so it's really just a passion project. And it's very passionate, it's very wonderful, but it takes a ton of time. And so if you know anyone who's interested, perhaps yourself, in helping with this, in any kind of way, mostly with just editing, and I've got all the content. So taking an interview that goes like 40 minutes or a half hour or 20 minutes, and then boiling it down to something a third of that size, maybe even a quarter or even a tenth in some cases, then there's a lot of chopping. And then once you chop, it's like carving something out of ice or out of wood or anything else. Yeah, you get the rough shape of it, and then you start smoothing it out, and that takes a long time. And that's just one interview. And then maybe you want pieces of the interviews interspersed between other pieces of interviews. So as you see it, an episode can take a really long time to put together. Um, we had uh, videos of Leah that also were prioritized ahead of the second episode, but um, finally this week, the second episode will premiere tomorrow night. So I hope to have you here. It'll be just about in exactly 24 hours, 23 hours to be exact, almost. In 3 minutes, it'll be 23 hours, 8 p.m. Central Time tomorrow night. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for caring about all these stories. You're the reason I do this. All right. Be well. Bye bye.